Hi Stock Creative, so welcome once again to this amazing tutorial. So in this video we're going to be learning how to draft this Shawl collar blazer jacket. If that is what you want to really watch, then keep on watching this video. So here I have my shoulder line, my chest line, my bust line, the half length and the full length. Okay, so above here I have 5 inches and here I have 5 inches as well. So the first thing to do is to come to the chest line and divide your shoulder measurement by 2. So all our markings are starting from this line. So divide your shoulder by 2 and just go ahead and do what? Mark it like so. So on the shoulder line, you are going to mark the same. Your shoulder measurement divided by 2. Okay, so this, I'm going to draw this line from this point down to here. Okay, so just this is it. So the next thing is for me to come here and mark the width of my neck, which is 3 inches, and then for the depth I'll be marking 3 inches as well. Okay, so now this place you're going to be using your French curve instead of the straight ruler. Okay, so here you walk with the straight ruler and not the French curve. Okay, so now from the end of this point you are going to slant your shoulder down, and I'll do that by 1.5. Okay, so now I'm going to connect this point like so. Alright, so the next thing is to create our armhole curve, and to do that you are going to find the middle of this line. Alright, and that is going to be just to fold it like so, and with that you have gotten the middle. So I'm going to come in by 0.75 like so. So at this point I'm going to divide my bust circumference measurement by 4. Okay, so at this point I'm going to do the same. Divide your bust by 4. So on the half length I'm going to divide my waist circumference measurement by 4 plus 1 inch. Alright, so plus 1 inch for that. Okay, so on the full length you're going to divide your upper hip circumference measurement by 4 as well. So now we can go ahead and connect all our points from this point back to here, and from here back to this point back to this point. Okay, so now I'm going to use the French curve to connect from the depth of the shoulder to the 0.75, and then from there back to this point just like so. Okay, so now with this we are almost done with our basic slipper. Okay, the next thing is to divide your bust span by 2, and go ahead and do what? Mark your nipple to nipple measurement. Okay, so I'm going to have it on all these lines. I'm going to have it on the bust point to the full length. Okay, I'm not going to mark it on the chest line. Take note of that. Okay, your bust span divided by 2. So I didn't mark it on the full length, just on the bust point to the full length. Okay, I didn't mark it on the chest line, I mean to say. Okay, so the 1 inch I added, so I'm going to take it out, and at least I'll come down here by 0.5, and I'll come up here by 0.5 as well. So now with that you have it like so. Okay, so just from this point back to this point, and then back to the 0.5 on the hem. Okay, so now with this we are almost done with our basic slipper. Okay, what we are actually doing is we are drafting the basic slipper. Okay guys, So from there I have it like so. Alright, so now at this point you have to come here and go up at least by, let me do it by 1 inch. Okay, so that place will not be sharp. Alright, that place shouldn't be sharp. That's the reason why I'm doing this. So from that point you do it like so. So at this point you determine, this is called a basic sloper. Okay, so now you're going to determine whether if you want to use a princess dart or a shoulder dart. Okay, so if you want to use a shoulder dart, all you have to do is to come here and find the middle of this line. Mine is 5.2, which means this is 2.1, just like so. So I'm going to connect it. That is, if you want a shoulder dart, this is what you are going to do to get a shoulder dart. Okay, so now we move on to take this to make it a blazer jacket. Talk about transforming this basic sloper into a blazer jacket. So the next first thing is to choose your breaking point, and your breaking point can be at any side. Okay, your breaking point is the place where your lapel starts from. That is called a breaking point. So from this depth of the neck, you can determine where you want the breaking point of your jacket to be. So what if I want it maybe below the bust dart, below the bust line? Maybe I can do, let me do about 2.5 inches below the bust dart. So this depends on you. Okay, so I'm going to come out by either 1 inches or 1.5. So I'll go to the hem and I'm going to do the same. Okay, this is just how to draft a normal blazer jacket. So it depends on what you really want. If you want it to be above the chest line, or on the chest line, or at the bust point, this is a choice. It's not something that somebody should determine for you. It's not something that they should choose for you. So you are the one to know that this is where you want your lapel to start. You go ahead and focus on that place and choose that place accurately. So now after this, I'm going to position this meter like so, and from this spot I'm just going to take this line up, extending it at this point. Okay, so now the next thing to do is for me to come to this place, and from this point, that is from this line, from this point we're going to be marking our collar. Okay, so that the collar that goes to the back. So now to be on the safe side, if you really want to get this perfect, then the best thing for you to do is for you to draft your back pattern. So after drafting your back pattern, you go ahead and take round the neck of the back. Just round the back neck. Okay, so let's assume that my back neck is going to be 1.5. Okay, you know the width of the neck will always remain the same. So if the back of my neck is going to be, the depth I'm going to say should be 0.5. It's not always deep like the front. Okay, so 0.5, 0.75 is okay for a jacket. Okay, so let's assume this is the depth of my back neck. So what I'm just going to do is to take this measurement round it. Okay, you need to take this. You see the way the curve is, you need to take that measurement. Don't take it straight because the line is not straight. You just need to position the tape with the curve and then take it. Okay, so what I have here is 3.2. Okay, so that 3.2, you can add maybe extra inches to it, maybe something like 0.25. Okay, not necessarily much, or you can just go ahead and mark 3.2. But if you want to be on the safe side, for an average person 3.5 is okay. For an average person 3.5 is what? Good. So after marking that, you are marking this measurement starting from this point, okay? Then you mark it like so. So at this point, you are going to try to form a shape. As you can see that this line is very, very straight. If you take a good look at this shape I have here, let me just place this ruler, okay? You need to make sure that you get a perfect square at this point, all right? So now, on this line, starting from this place, on this line, that is where you are going to be marking the width of your collar, which is, so now when it comes to this point, you are going to create the width of your collar. This is also optional. It depends on the collar width you are working with. It's not necessary that you have to make use of 2 inches or 1.5 or 3 inches. This is on you. So now you're going to mark the width, okay? Maybe if you want to work with 3 inches, 3 inches is okay, or 2.5. Okay, let's use 2.5 for this. All right, so this is 2.5. So it depends on the width you really want to work with. So what you're just going to do is to position this French curve like so. You position it really well to that 2 inches or 3 inches width of yours, and you just go ahead and connect it like so. Okay, you really need to be careful so that you get this curve perfect without it, without making a mistake. So now I have it like so, and this is perfect lapel for what? Jacket. So the next thing is for us to come here and go out by 0.5. Listen, this 0.5 is going to help this jacket to relax without it having to pop out at the back. Okay, it's going to help you to relax sitting perfectly at your back. Okay, so this is just how to connect it. So this is it, guys. We are almost done. So the next thing, if you want yours to become a feminine jacket, you go ahead and input your bust dart. All right, you input your words, your bust dart, just like so. There is no much work. All right, so the next thing is to crochet this dart leg. This is 5, to make sure that they are of the same length. Your dart leg should always be of the same length. Okay, so I have it like so. So I'm going to take this down like this. So I have it like so. Okay, guys, so now this is just it. Okay, so how do you guys see this tutorial? So you can now head out to draft the back piece. So hi, so creative. So welcome back to this tutorial. So now we are going to draft the back pattern of our blazer jacket. So the first thing for us to do is to draw our starting line, and this is my starting line. So this is where I'll be drafting the back piece. Okay, so the first thing to do is to mark all the vertical body measurements. All right, so I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder to chest line. We do not have any bust points at the back, so we're not marking the shoulder to bust. We're just going to mark shoulder to the chest line. Okay, so now this is my chest line and my half length and the full length of the jacket. Okay, so I'm going to shift a bit and I'm going to remark all those measurements. Right, so chest line, the half length and the full length. So I just have it like so. So I'm going to draw out a straight line. It's okay, guys. Okay, so I'm going to have this line like so. All right, so now I have the other one. This is the half length. Okay, so I'll draw the line. Okay, so you do the same thing, and that is just it. Like I told you guys, you do not have any bust at the back, so we're not marking the shoulder to bust. So I'll just label the line. This is my shoulder line. Shoulder line. This is the chest line. My chest line, okay? So now here is the waistline. The waistline, and this is the full length. Alright? Okay? So now after this, you go ahead and mark your shoulder measurement divided by 2. You mark it at the shoulder line. That is your shoulder measurement divided by 2. So you do the same thing on the chest line. Divide the shoulder by 2 like so. So with this I have a straight line. Okay? I have it like so. So having gotten the shoulder line, the next thing for us is to mark our width of neck. So the width of the neck for the front and the back should always be the same. Alright? So I'm going to slant my shoulder down by 1 inch. Alright? So just like so. So I'm going to connect it like so. Alright? So for the depth of the neck, you know this is the back piece. And you do not want to use so much numbers, just 0.5 is accurate and perfect. So I have 0.5 here, so I can go a bit and remark the same. So I'm going to connect it like so. Alright? So I can choose to connect these 2 points like this. So from then I'm going to connect it back to the width as well. Okay, so this is just it. So you come to this point, you are going to divide your round ball circumference measurement by 4. Okay, so you come to the half length, you are going to divide your waist circumference measurement by 4 as well, plus 1 inch. Alright, so plus 1 inch for that intake. Okay, so now on the hip, you divide your upper hip by 4 as well. But if your blazer is stopping at your hip, like your exact round hip, then you will have to divide your round hip. Okay, so now I'm going to connect this point from this point back to this side. Hook up. So what I'm going to do is to find the middle of this line. Okay, so I'm just going to find the middle of this shoulder line. Okay, so I have the middle like so. This is the middle, right? So this is the middle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the French curve, and I'm going to connect it back to the bust divided by 4. Alright, just like so. I'm going to position it. Make sure that you place your French curve very well. So now I have it like so. Okay, so now after that, go ahead to talk about the sway back. You know that the back bodies of a human being is not straight, so we cannot just come and leave it like so. So on the half length, I'm going to go in by 0.5. Alright, I'll go in by 0.5, and I'm going to take it out in form of a dart, because the back is deep at this point, and if you do not apply a sway back, you are going to have issues with your bodies. Okay, so now at this point I'm just going to reconnect it like so, and I will take it back to the neck. Alright, so this is just like a dart. You do not need this. You're going to be cutting this out entirely. Alright, so I'm just trying to shade it so that you know that this side is going off. It's not part of this tutorial. So the next thing for you to do is to mark your nipple to nipple measurement, and your marking should be starting from the end of this. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on the chest line, and then on the on the upper hip, right? So I'm just going to connect the straight points. Okay. So first I'll take it from the waist to the hemline, and from this point back to this place. Okay. So now I'm going to take out that we added, which is 1 inch. So I'll just mark 0.5, just in between the dart leg, and that's it. So at this point, this is my chest, and I would like to drop down just by 1 inch. Okay, you can do 0.5, still okay. So I'm going to connect the darts like so. Alright, so now I'll come to this point and I'll go up by 0.5. So guys, I'll go ahead and connect it from this point back to the 0.5. It came up here by 0.5, so I'm just going to connect it back to that point. Okay, so just like so. And then I'll connect this one again, just like so. Okay, so remember when I was drafting the front pattern, I went up here by 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to do the same. So if you have gone up there by 0.5, you need to repeat the same procedure so that one of the pattern will not come out shorter or longer than the other one. Okay, so just with the same shape, I used my French curve, so I'm just going to do the same. Use the French curve to connect it like so. And with this, we can now go ahead to cut out our patterns. I'm not going ahead to cut out the front, so we're just going to cut out the back first before we can now cut out the front. Alright? But before we cut it out, I made use of a shoulder dart at this point. So I'm going to be marking the same shoulder dart I added at the front piece, just by finding the center of the width of my shoulder. Okay, so I'll just find the middle, and I'm going to connect it to the chest line. Okay, so if you're using a preset dart, you're going to do the same for the front and the back piece. Okay, you don't want to do it different. I can now go ahead to cut it out. So I'm going to cut like this.